work at a morgue. One night, a drowning victim asked me for water. It wasn't fear. It was something far worse. I don't know why people choose to work at a morgue. Actually, I do. I came here for the silence, not the kind you find in a library or an empty park at dawn, but the absolute final silence, the kind that comes when all questions are asked and all answers are given. Here, you don't need to hope. You don't need to struggle. You don't even need to feel. Everything is already over, and in that there is a strange, honest peace. My name is Igor. I'm 42, and I'm tired. Tired of a world where everyone constantly wants something, runs somewhere, proves something. My job is a night orderly. I receive those who have finished their run. My task is simple. Register, store, wait for morning. After 3 years, I've learned to appreciate this simplicity. The hum of old refrigeration units has become a lullaby to me. That night was like hundreds of others. Rain, occasional cars sliding over wet asphalt somewhere above. In another world, I was sitting in my small office, drinking cold tea, reading an old book. Around 1 a.m., they brought her in. 2 silent men from the transport service. Drowning victim from the river, unidentified. Standard procedure. I signed the forms, they left. I pulled the wet sheet off the stretcher. Young. About 25, maybe a little older. Dark hair plastered to her forehead, dressed in a simple cotton dress. Her pale face, no fear, no pain, only surprise, as if she had asked a question and didn't get an answer. I worked automatically. Tag on the ankle, entry in the log, number 7. I didn't look at her as a person. She was a body, an object, an inventory item. It was easier that way. I wheeled the stretcher into the cold room, opened locker 7, cold, sterile air. I transferred her, closed the heavy steel door. The click of the lock sounded like a period at the end of a sentence. That was it. I returned to my tea, but I couldn't read. Her face kept flashing in my mind. That silly, childlike surprise. I got angry at myself. I couldn't let it in. I couldn't. Otherwise, all my silence would crumble to dust. I forced myself back into the book. An hour passed. The rain stopped, and in the quiet, I heard it. A soft knock, like someone tapping a finger on metal. One tap, and silence. I froze. Old compressor? The building settling? Anything. I sat motionless, becoming nothing but hearing. 1 minute, 2, nothing. I exhaled. It was nothing. Then again. Knock. Knock, knock. More insistent this time. From the cold room. Locker 7. It wasn't fear. Fear is when you worry for your life. I wasn't afraid. It was something else. A disturbance in order. A glitch in the system where glitches shouldn't exist. Someone was breaking my silence. I slowly stood up, picked up a heavy bunch of keys from the table, just to have something in my hand. I walked to the door and pushed it open. The dim light of a single lamp revealed rows of steel doors in the shadows, all closed. I walked along the row. First door, second, third, 7th. The door was locked, but as I stared at it, I felt the knock again, right under my hand, a faint vibration. My mind refused to accept it. Maybe a post-mortem muscle spasm. Gases. I'd heard of that, but so rhythmic. I inserted the key, turned it. The lock clicked. I pulled the door open. She was lying just as I left her. On her back, arms at her sides, but her eyes were open. She was staring at the ceiling, and while I watched, she slowly, with visible effort, turned her head and looked at me. There was nothing in her eyes, no life, no death, only water. It was as if the entire river, its dark, cold depth, was reflected in them. Then she spoke. Her lips barely moved, and the sound was no louder than dry grass brushing in the wind. But in the morgue silence, it sounded like a scream. Drink. One word. And at that moment, my carefully built wall collapsed. All my silence, all my peace, all my armor of cynicism and indifference shattered, because in front of me was not a corpse, nor a living person. It was someone's thirst. The last, desperate, unquenchable thirst. I didn't think. I just went back to my office, poured water from the kettle into a chipped mug. My hands didn't shake. I was completely calm. The calm of someone falling from a great height, knowing the ground is very close. I returned to her, lifted her head. She was heavy and cold, like a wet stone. I held the mug to her lips. She drank. Small, greedy sips, spilling water over herself. I watched as it ran down her chin, her neck, lost in the wet collar of her dress. She drank it all, to the last drop. When I removed the mug, she closed her eyes. Just closed them, like a tired person. Her head rested on my hand. I carefully laid her back on the cold metal. And that was it. She no longer moved, no longer breathed. She was once again a body, an object, an inventory item. But something had changed. I looked at her face. The surprise was gone. In its place was calm. The kind of calm belonging to someone who has waited a long time. And finally, it was answered. I stood by her until morning. I didn't think about anything. I just watched and listened. But it was a different silence, no longer empty. Something fragile appeared in it, barely noticeable, like the echo of the last sip of water. In the morning, my replacement arrived. "How was your night, Eagle? Calm?" I looked at her, then at the closed door of locker 7. Yes, surprisingly calm. I stepped outside. The sun blinded me. The world was noisy, running, alive. And for the first time in 3 years, I didn't want to hide from it. I don't know what it was. I'll never know. But I do know one thing. Sometimes, to bring someone back to life, you just need to give them water. Even if they are already dead. Especially if they are already dead.